Drew, and I am the infrastructure nerd.
And I'm Mary Jo Boyd, a legal technologist.
You know, every once in a while people call us and say, we have a new employee, how do we get Tabs or PracticeMaster onto their workstation?
You know, is it something that they can just do on their own?
It is. It's really quite simple once you know the steps to take.
Oh, can you show us how to do that?
I sure will. Okay, so here we are. We're in PracticeMaster on an existingly, starting over one more time. Sorry, Brad. Okay, so here we are in PracticeMaster on an existing user's installation. So we've got PracticeMaster up. And first, a little bit of background. What are we going to do? We're going to install PracticeMaster or Tabs, doesn't matter, on a different machine that doesn't currently have it. And we're going to run something called setup.exe from the folder that's got the programs and the data on the network. And that's going to install the program part on the local machine. How do we know where to go to get that? That's the first thing to consider. We go on an existing machine into help about, and we will end up seeing what's called the current working directory. Now, sometimes this is a mapped drive, something like s:/sti. Sometimes it's this, which happens to be called a UNC. Nerd talk, I know, but that's what it is. You don't care. All you need to know is that you want to copy this. And so I'm going to highlight it, right-click and choose copy, because later on I'm going to paste it in and it'll know exactly where to go to get what I'm looking for. I don't have to know myself. I just come in here and I get this. So you go into help about, you highlight this, you right-click, you choose copy, and then you get out. I'm going to get out of PracticeMaster, and I'm going to pretend that I have now moved to a different machine. And on that different machine, I want to then go into Windows Explorer, paste right up here that path exactly the way I copied it, hit enter, and that takes me there. Now, to back up a little for those of you who may not know how to get in here, for me, I went right into File Explorer. You can go into Start and go into File Explorer. You can go into the little icon down here that's File Explorer. If you have a My Computer icon on your desktop, or a computer icon, or this PC icon in your Start menu, you can right-click and choose, or just double-click on it, and it'll take you to Windows Explorer. Bottom line is, get into Windows Explorer, get up here where it's telling you where it currently is, click there, and then paste right on top of what's already there, your location. And that should take you to the place that you got from the other software. Now, of course, if you're coming from another machine, you can't paste. So maybe what you'll do is paste that into an email and email it to the person who you're installing on, and then pull that email up and copy it and paste it. Bottom line, you want to get to that same place. Now in here, there is something called setup.exe, and I'm not going to make you watch me scroll until I get there, because I can just click on a file, any file, and start typing setup. And it'll take me first to the help. That's what the CHM is, and setup.exe is right there. Now keep in mind, if you get up here and you start typing and you're slow in your typing, you go S, and then you wait long enough and you go E, it's going to take you to the E's. So when you type setup, just type it really quickly, at least, you know, that quickly, and you'll get right there. Double-click setup.exe, and it's going to run the setup routine. Now the first thing it asks is, what do you want to install locally? So a lot of times people will uncheck the things that they don't want that person in. Now keep in mind that if something has a little plus sign next to it, you can click the plus sign and see all the other things that might get installed as part of Tabs 3. So if you wanted to just install PracticeMaster in Tabs 3, this is what you would do. You would only check PracticeMaster in Tabs 3. And then in the sub box for Tabs 3, you'd make sure that the other things were not checked. Sometimes you'll have that little plus next to General Ledger if you have, for instance, the General Ledger Report Writer. Now, a little bit about this. This is just what icons and what programs are going to be installed on that machine. You could conceivably install all the programs on that machine, and then the user could still only be allowed to get into Tabs 3 and PracticeMaster because we have the access profiles that you can set up. But a lot of firms don't want those users to even see the icons for, let's say, General Ledger and Accounts Payable and Trust Accounting. And so if you uncheck them here, the icons will not install. The programs won't install, which saves a little bit of disk space, but is inconsequential as far as keeping people out. Access profiles should keep them out. But like I say, a lot of firms, they just want to show the icons for the products that user is actually going to use. You click Next. You tell it where you want to install it. It's very, very rare that you would ever change this. This is just saying I'm going to put it in the correct program files folder in a subfolder called Tabs3. So you just leave that alone and hit Next. And it asks, do you want to create icons on the desktop? Yes or no. It's just whether we put icons for Tabs and PracticeMaster out here. I'm going to say yes. And then if you already had this installed, maybe it was an older version, it will give you this program group already exists. Do you want to replace that with the new icons? And your answer to this should always be yes, because you want it to override any stuff that may have been out there. In a minute, we'll talk about uninstalling it from the machine first, but you don't have to do that. And then it does it. That's it. You'll notice it's only installing those two programs. It's not installing AP and GL and Trust. It does install a toolbar in Outlook if it was already there. If it wasn't already there, you won't get this message. And all this is doing is telling you, hey, close up Outlook and restart it, and that new button bar that I installed or toolbar that I installed will take effect. And there we are. We're done. Now, a little bit of background on this. Why do we do this? For those of you that have had Tabs and PracticeMaster for a while, you may know that really in the past, before they came up with this methodology, which was several versions ago, but before that, really you just pointed with shortcuts to the programs in the network folder. You didn't install the programs locally. But that in a large firm at 9 o'clock in the morning when everybody's signing into their computer and everybody's going immediately into PracticeMaster would be a huge drain on the network because everybody's pulling these big program files down over the network cables to their desktop. So STI came up with this methodology. So I tell you that not because you care about how it used to be, but if you're in a firm that used to do it that way, your IT people may say, oh, I'll just put the icons on the desktop. And while that will work, there are some problems. The speed will be slower when it runs that way because it's got to pull the programs down every morning when it loads up. And help won't work anymore. Ever since they changed the way of doing this, it's always looking to your local machine when you press the little yellow question mark or go into help about or go into any part of help. It looks to the local machine. And if you haven't installed it this way, it won't find it and you'll get an error message saying, hey, help's not installed locally, I can't run help. So those are two reasons not to do it the old way. You really don't want to use the old shortcut method. You want to use this method. It's very easy. You get on the workstation you want to install it on, you get to the right folder, you run setup, and you follow the prompts as I've explained. Now, one other thing I want to caution people about. If you already had an older version, or maybe you just need to reinstall the current version on this local machine, so you already have the current version, but for some reason you want to reinstall it, you can uninstall it. And to do that, I want to stress that you go into Control Panel and go into Programs just like you normally would, and you find Tabs, and you right-click and choose Uninstall. There it is. You just right-click and choose Uninstall, and it will uninstall the programs. That is how you uninstall. Why do I tell you that? Well, because there's also this old thing laying around that's kind of left over from prior versions. It's uninstall.exe. Well, it's not left over. This is how you uninstall the whole thing. So if you're an IT person and you're tempted to run uninst.exe, uninst.exe in the STI folder on the network, don't. Because that's not going to do anything about uninstalling it from a local workstation. That is going to uninstall Tabs from your server. Now, if you've already done that, and now you're watching this video and you're freaking out, don't worry, all it uninstalled was the programs. We can get the programs back. And you're going to have to call STI or call us for help doing that because it's not something that I'm going to explain in this video. Bottom line is, do not run this unless you absolutely are certain you're uninstalling Tabs from the whole system. Then, and even then, you don't need to do that. So stay away from this. This is kind of old and actually is meant to uninstall from the whole system. Do what I told you, which is go into Control Panel, Programs, and find tabs and uninstall it by right-clicking and choosing uninstall, that is the correct way to uninstall. And so that's it. That is everything you want to know about setting up tabs on a local workstation. So there it is, everything you need to know to get Tabs or PracticeMaster or the accounting software installed on a local workstation.
And that's just one more way that we can help you to worry less
And practice more.